How long does surrogacy in the United States actually take? A realistic month-by-month timeline when you decide to start a family through surrogacy in United States. Your heart is already at the finish line. You can practically hear the laughter and feel the weight of your baby in your arms. But then you see the numbers, 15 months, 18 months, sometimes even 2 years to 4 years. The question isn't just how long, but why does it take this long? In the United States, surrogacy is a masterclass in precision. It is the symphony of legal safeguards, medical marvels, and human connection that cannot be rushed if you want to protect your future family. Today, we are pulling back the curtain on the sovereign surrogacy timeline. We are moving past the ideal estimates to give you a realistic month-by-month roadmap of what a US journey actually looks like in 2026. From the first consultation to moment you leave the hospital with your child. The first 3 months are about research and preparation. Many intended parents think the clock starts at the time of matching phase, but the foundation is built much earlier. Month 1, the sovereignty audit. You'll meet with your agency to define your match criteria. Do you want a surrogate in a specific state like California for its friendly laws? Do you have a strong feelings about communication styles? Now this month is about narrowing the who and the where. Month 2 to 3 is about embryo creation. If you don't already have embryos banked, this is when you coordinate with an IVF clinic, egg retrieval, fertilization, and crucially PGTA testing, genetic screening take time. Having genetically cleared embryos is one of the biggest ways to prevent delays later in the timeline. Now, if you already have embryos frozen and ready to ship, you can often save 2 months of this phase. This is the most variable part of the entire journey. On average, matching in the United States takes between 2 to 8 months. At Sovereign Surrogacy, we don't believe in waiting lists. We believe in compatibility metrics. The review you'll receive: surrogate profiles, documented histories of women who have already been pre-screened for health and financial stability. The match meeting, once you like a profile and surrogate likes yours, we facilitate a match call. This is where you discuss deep-seated values. What are your views on selective reduction? How much contact do you want during the pregnancy? The commitment. Once both parties says yes, the match is official. Why the delay? Now, currently there is a high demand for surrogates in the United States. The patience here is vital because a bad match based on haste can lead to a legal or emotional breakdown 6 months later. Now, once you match, the business of surrogacy kicks into high gear. This stage usually takes 2 months and involves 3 parallel tracks. Medical clearance. Your surrogate travels to your IVF clinic for 1-day workup. Doctors check her uterine lining and overall health. Over 95% of our pre-screened surrogates pass this on the first try. Second is psychological evaluation. A licensed professional ensures the surrogates and her partner are emotionally prepared for the journey. Third is legal contract. This is critical. You and your surrogate will have separate attorneys. You'll draft the gestational surrogacy agreement, GSA, which covers everything from compensation to birth plans. Once signed, the clinical receives legal clearance to proceed. Now, the biology begins, medications. So once signed, the clinic receives legal clearance to proceed. Now, the biology begins. Medications 3 to 4 weeks. The surrogate begins a protocol of estrogen and progesterone to prepare her body for the embryo transfer. The transfer is a simple 10-minute procedure where the embryo is placed in the uterus. Now, the beta test, about 10 to 14 days later, clinics do blood tests to confirm pregnancy. The reality check is if the first transfer doesn't take, you have to wait for the surrogate's next cycle, which can add 6 to 8 weeks to the timeline. Now, this is why we always recommend having more than one viable embryo ready. Once a heartbeat is confirmed, usually at 6 to 8 weeks, the timeline becomes the most predictable part of the journey. 9 months of gestation. Now, during this time, Sovereign Surrogacy manages the match momentum. Second trimester, we begin the pre-birth order. This is the legal process that ensures your names go directly onto the birth certificate at the hospital. At third trimester, we finalize the birth plan, which hospital, who is in the room, who cuts the umbilical cord. For our international parents, this is where you start booking your flights and nesting in the US city where your surrogate will deliver. The baby arrives, but the journey isn't quite over. If you are a US citizen, you can typically head home within a few days. If you are an international intended parent, you plan for 2 to 4 weeks. In the US post-birth, this time is needed to obtain the birth certificate, apply for the US passport as the baby is a US citizen by birth. Ensure the baby is medically cleared by a pediatrician for travel. So does it take a long time? Yes. But every month in this timeline is a layer of protection for your child, your surrogate, and your peace of mind. At Sovereign Surrogacy, we don't just track the months, we optimize them. By pre-screening surrogates and harmonizing legal and medical tracks, we turn a complex process into a clear path. Geography should never be a barrier to parenthood. If you are ready to start your month 1, click the link below to schedule a consultation. Let's start the clock on your family's future.